Starting with retail in those cities, there's quite a lot of interest for those relatively large cities with 75,000 inhabitants or more. And they have also proven to be very stable throughout the financial crisis. I mean, they have probably performed much better than Stockholm and all the other cities because they have been so stable. The office markets are, of course, quite fragmented. We don't see that many international investors looking for that. That is primarily Swedish money. I think today the yields are there are quite attractive, and you can get the financing. So there could definitely be an area where you will see some sort of slightly yield depression in the years to come. So I think that makes sense to invest in those cities in Sweden. Gothenburg is one of those cities that was hit really bad in the financial crisis. It was a lot of car industries, etc., and it suffered. But now it's bouncing back. It's a little bit like Copenhagen. All of a sudden, they had actually stronger rental growth than in Stockholm. And it has been slightly neglected for some international investors, but also from some Swedish investors. But now it has really good traction.
Yeah, I think it's, as you said also, I mean, if you look at the different sectors, that's where you see the difference. If you look at offices, it's Stockholm, and now I'm talking about Sweden, Stockholm, maybe Gothenburg, probably not Malmö at the moment. If you look at retail, you probably can go to the top 20 cities, and you will have international interest. Logistics, same thing. As long as it's a good logistics area, you will get interest. So I think it's a big diversification between different sectors. But I agree. I mean, if you look at offices in well, if you take away the top 2 and the remaining 17 or whatever that's above 75, I think you can see some really good opportunities. But I also think that that's a very local market in many ways, which means that international investors are quite afraid of having one building in that city. What happens if the tenant leave? Because if you compare to retail, for instance, if you look at a shopping center in Jönköping and compare that to a shopping center in Stockholm, you probably have the same tenants. But if you look at an office building in Jönköping, you will probably have much more local tenants. And if one of them leaves, you need to go out in the local market and pick in another tenant. And I think that is something that is really scaring investors, which I think is right as well.